Hey guys, I want to talk to you guys about continuing to train and knowing why it is you believe what you believe. We've talked about this before in the past about do you think or do you know? Do you think your system works? Do you think your techniques work? Um, or do you know that they work? We've talked about this about the typical martial arts BS, people talking about, well, I don't train to do martial arts, I train to kill people, and, my immediate response is, how many people have you actually ever killed? Do you think this stuff works, or do you know it actually works? Because there's a vast difference there. So it's really easy to coach somebody through a particular technique and say, oh, well, if you just do this, this will immediately dislodge his camouflage and he'll die immediately. It's another thing entirely with an opponent who's actually resisting you. The other thing that I wanted to address was the fact that there are other systems out there. Now, you guys who've watched me, follow me, you know that I'm a big time proponent of BJJ, but I'm also not one of these guys who is sold on the idea that BJJ is everything, that it is all you need. I would say that if you're going to train one thing, it should be BJJ, because I think for the average civilian, the types of encounters that you're going to encounter are probably more than likely going to be one-on-one type encounters where BJJ really tends to excel. But when you start getting into multiple opponents, when you start getting into maybe armed encounters, things like that, then you start to see a little bit of a deterioration if you don't train those things accordingly. Again, going back to that standard, do you think or do you know? If you're one of these BJJ guys who is like, hey, BJJ is the end all to be all, and it solves all problems, okay, do you think that or do you know that? Have you actually ever been in a situation where you've had to fight two or three guys using strictly nothing but BJJ? If so, and you're confident in your abilities, by all means. But if not, then recognize your deficiency and seek out other alternatives. BJJ is a great system, and I think it's a great foundation. I think it should be the foundation for any sort of hand-to-hand that you're going to engage in. But that being said, it is not all encompassing. I do think you need to know how to do strikes. Now, once you get into striking, there's different styles out there. You've got Wing Chun, you've got boxing, you've got kickboxing, Muay Thai. You've got all these different styles out there, and the style that you choose is entirely up to you. I tell people all the time, I don't care what you train, but train something, because anything is going to be better than nothing. This whole idea that you are built in and pre-wired with defensive capabilities or something like that is completely unsubstantiated, unfounded, and unscientific. It's just not the case. The fact of the matter is the only way that we learn how to fight is by training to fight. And to the degree that you're willing to train hard will be the degree that you're able to actually reap benefits from it. So, that being said, next week I'm heading to Las Vegas, and I'll be doing some videos for you guys, just kind of giving you my thoughts on the spear system. I've known of Tony Blauer for quite some time, and recognize that he teaches a lot of soft units and things like this, but I've never actually trained with the guy. Probably within the last, I don't know, year and a half, I've started to look more into his research. Looking at some of his earlier videos, he seemed like he was the typical, stereotypical kind of anti-BJJ guy, but I stumbled across some more recent videos where he's starting to he's starting to embrace some of the attributes of BJJ, and I felt that it was probably necessary for me to do the same, um, to hold myself to the same standard that I hold others to, and that is that if you know you need to constantly remain teachable. You need to maintain that teachability and never reach that point where you feel like, I've reached the pinnacle and I can't learn anymore. Because once you reach that point, you're absolutely right. You will learn no more, and you will grow no more. Whether it be as a warrior or as an individual. So I'm going to head out there, and it's a Combatives conference that's going on. A lot of different Combatives instructors from all around are meeting out there and going through this program with him. So I'll probably give you guys some highlights and things like that on the training, and I'll certainly give you my honest, no BS feedback at the end. I know he does a ton of research, into things like fight physiology and things like that. But I also know that a lot of his system is based on you being the one to get the initial strike, and for that reason, I'm a little skeptical, but I'm trying to keep an open mind as well, because the reality is you're not always going to be the one who gets that first initial strike. The nature of an ambush is that you don't know it's coming, and if you know it's an ambush, then it's not an ambush. At that point, it's just a fight. So, from a realistic perspective, I'm not sure how all that is going to intertwine into the program. I'm sure that he probably addresses it. I know he's well known and well versed in his subject matter, and so I'm really actually looking forward to going out there and being a student and just kind of fading to the background, not being the one who's being asked questions, and just learning, whatever it is that he has to teach. And just like I tell people who follow me or who train under me, look, these are ways that I approach certain problems, but if it's not for you, eat the meat and spit out the bones. I go there with full intention of being able to digest a good amount of meat. And if there's something that I disagree with, then maybe I'll chuck that, and but regardless, at the end of the day, I'll be that much better off for having added more tools and a different perspective and things like that to my skill sets. So we'll touch on that a little bit, starting next weekend, and see how that goes. But I really wanted to kind of put that out there for you guys who are training, who have confidence in your particular system. One, to hold yourself to the same standard that you hold others to. Don't ask people if their system works if you're not willing to vet your system. By the same token, don't ever get to that place where you can't learn anymore. There's a certain piece, and especially as a teacher, in showing up somewhere and not having to teach anything and just being a student. I've been teaching now for over a decade, and there's a certain lack of responsibility, so to speak, where I can show up somewhere and I not be responsible for anything, and I can just learn. So I really am looking forward to that. So I would encourage all of you guys who do teach out there to embrace that aspect of this process as well. When you have the opportunity to learn from somebody else, take advantage of it. That's not something to be shunned because of your pride or ego. That's something to be embraced. Even if you go there and you pick up one move or just one new perspective, one new way of looking at something, you've still benefited. So wanted to kind of give you guys that and let you kind of chew on that and think about that a little bit. All right? You guys train hard.